Welcome to On Our Watch, a podcast about coastal erosion and sustainability in Louisiana, as well as the implications for coastal systems worldwide. My name is Marian Evans. I'm a filmmaker and a producer of the documentary On Our Watch, a feature-length film about Louisiana's coastal land loss crisis. The film's director, Jonathan Evans, and I are proud to produce this podcast series that will continue to explore important coastal issues through conversations with local residents, community leaders, and experts.
In this episode, we're speaking with Ryan Mattingly. Ryan is the executive director at Louisiana Green Corps, an organization dedicated to providing career-building opportunities for people aspiring to improve their lives and community. And now, our interview with Ryan Mattingly.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us today. My
pleasure.
I wanted to start by asking you about how you got into this field and how you came to work at Louisiana Green Corps. Was this something that you were always passionate about?
I think, like all of us, when we look back on our life journey, it's like a map of twists and turns. So really, for me and so many people in New Orleans, Katrina was really that twist and turn in my life, which led me to Green Corps ultimately. When Katrina hit, I was in grad school at UNO, and I realized immediately that I wanted to be doing something more directly serving individuals. I found a love and passion for teaching. So I started teaching in an after-school program while I was finishing my master's degree with a focus on federal housing policies and how they've segregated neighborhoods by race. I started teaching high school social studies, and from there I also became really interested and focused on how are our students ultimately then connecting to meaningful careers after high school. A lot of my students were pushed into college, and that wasn't an interest or their fit or their path, right? There was other opportunities and other options out there that didn't necessarily require college, but they didn't have a clear pathway to that. So I started working more in career and college readiness programs, initially with a program called Earn and Learn, also with the city's Office of Workforce Development with the Youth Works program. And through there, I'd always partnered closely with Green Corps. And I always saw Green Corps as offering one of the best programs and the most for residents, especially with the two biggest challenges that we face as a region, that of poverty and racial inequity, and that of the threat of climate change. And Green Corps addresses both. So that's really what led me to Green Corps. It tied in with all my passions in terms of youth development, in terms of providing really an on-ramp and a bridge to careers that doesn't necessarily involve going into debt, that doesn't necessarily involve not being able to earn money. Green Corps provides a paid on-the-job training opportunity for individuals that are interested in making our environment and city more resilient and sustainable, but also provides really lasting high-wage, high-demand career opportunities. So that's what led me to Green Corps. I would say Katrina was really the start of that journey. And over the last 18 or 19 years, my life work has been focused on connecting young people as well as adults to meaningful and high-wage, high-demand careers.
Awesome. Very interesting. So it's kind of the intersection of a lot of your interests in one.
Right. So to be honest, green infrastructure, green construction is not my background, is not my expertise. My expertise is really workforce development, training, youth development. We have an amazing staff here that has that background of green construction and green infrastructure, and I'm here to support them in really exposing and training individuals to be successful in those career pathways. Yeah.
Awesome. And so for people who might be unfamiliar, what is the primary purpose of Louisiana Green Corps as an organization?
The goal of Green Corps is to provide access to individuals who are really looking for a way to connect to lasting and meaningful careers that also make our community more resilient and sustainable. And we do that through a number of different ways. First and foremost, meeting individuals where they are coming into our program. So we know there's a number of different barriers that oftentimes prevent people from work, be it transportation, be it stable housing, be it mental health services, you name it, childcare. And so we work at first and foremost to identify what those barriers might be and make sure that we're working to remove those barriers towards employment. So before they even start our program, they're meeting with our case manager. We're really getting to know them as a person and identifying how to help them be successful within the Green Corps training. From there, once a student starts the training, there's a real strong focus on career exposure, environmental literacy, and helping them better understand and see what's out there. We focus on connecting students to green construction, energy efficiency, solar, clean energy, careers, and all those things that really tie in with the movement towards reducing the threat of climate change in our community, but also provide really good jobs and really good careers for individuals who are in need of that, right? And we want to make sure that local residents, particularly women and people of color, are those that benefit. So we do that through initially career exposure and introducing students to those different opportunities, environmental literacy and stewardship. So it's through a series of hands-on experiences and workshops where students are doing projects in the community that make our city more sustainable and resilient. Things like installing solar resilience hubs, things like installing stormwater management projects with bioswales, French drains, and rain gardens that help reduce the flooding impact in our city. Things like weatherizing homes to reduce people's energy costs and energy burden. Those are all things people are exposed to during our training. And then we also know in terms of getting employed, certifications and credentials are really important to prove that students have the knowledge and the experience that employers are seeking. So all of our students obtain the NCCR Core, which is a foundational construction certification, OSHA 10, which is really important for all green careers. Safety is key. Forklift, as well as the Clean Water certification, which is a green infrastructure certification through the Center for Watershed Protection. And then soft skills is really critical. So we focus a lot of time and energy on supporting students and what we know is the most important thing in terms of obtaining and retaining employment. Showing up on time, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, being able to really work with others well. And all those things are things that we really work on and reinforce throughout our training program. Financial literacy is key too. So how do you grow wealth? How do you ensure that you're saving, building credit? How do you, once you're earning the money, how do you really make it work towards you, including towards home ownership? And then at the very end, really developing a foot in the door or an entry point into the employer opportunities that are within our community. So that's through a paid internship at the end. Students are placed based on their interests with an employer partner, where they're building that hands-on experience and then also providing an entry point into employment. And then from there, we're placing students in jobs. 91% of our students have been placed in employment. 100% of our students obtain at least one industry-based credential by the end of the training. And really what that's all about is ensuring that they have the tools in their toolbox to continue to grow in their careers. Green Corps is really a starting point oftentimes. So we're following up with our alumni, ensuring that they're not just getting the job, keeping the job, but they're also having pathways to grow.
Wow, that seems like a very holistic system that you guys have. I love that you say you meet people where they're at because you're right. You know, college is not necessarily the right fit for everyone, and it's a huge expense. And you're introducing people to these industries that they may not know about.
So we have a big part of what we're focused on is a dedicated support team to not just meet individuals where they're at, but ensure that they have the resources and the tools to be successful, not just in the program, but once they graduate. So we have a dedicated case manager, career specialist that works both with the students and the employer partner to serve as that bridge. And then our instructors, as well as the, the partners and resources within our training. That's a key part of what that support network that our students need and deserve.
And so what are some of the different coastal projects that graduates of Louisiana Green Corps have gone on to be a part of?
So in terms of our coastal projects, a lot of what we've introduced students to is that exploration. I will say that, we've had students that have connected with groups like Common Ground and doing different projects where they're restoring the coast through planting of cypress trees, through the cypress nurseries. Big part of that is so many of our students have never been outside of the concrete surroundings of the city. So getting that initial exposure to coastal issues, as well as opportunities to provide solutions, as well as career opportunities. Real talk, it's very difficult for a lot of our students to access those jobs, primarily due to transportation. So very few of our students have vehicles and cars. So that's something we're really focused on figuring out, especially as coastal job opportunities grow, is how do we get people connected to the jobs if they don't have a car or vehicle, especially if the jobs are an hour away or 30 minutes away. But all of our students during the training are getting coastal restoration workshops to get exposed to the problem, as well as the solutions, as well as the careers that are available within coastal restoration.
So, what would you say are some of the biggest emerging green industries right now in the workforce?
Well, for us, that's really what it's all about. And it's our job to better understand that, because our program the whole focus is not just training individuals, but it's about connecting them to careers and employment. And we really need to understand where are the opportunities, where are they growing, and how can we be ensuring that our training meets those opportunities. So we work with an employer advisory council that's integrated in our programming to help us really think about the program design. We also are really looking at labor market data. So key industries that are growing based on what we know are in the clean energy sector, energy efficiency and weatherization, green construction as a whole, as well as green infrastructure. What we found is that some of those industries are growing faster than others. Stormwater management and green infrastructure is a huge need for our city, but we don't always find enough opportunities for our students in those fields. And oftentimes they go into more general construction fields. So the data and the information that we're looking at, all signs point to the green job sector growing rapidly, but we want to ensure that we're training individuals for jobs that exist today, not a year or 2 years from now, because ultimately, after they finish our program, we want to be able to connect them immediately to those opportunities. So we're really working with employers to identify what openings they currently have, what are their needs, what are the type of skills that students need to be able to access those opportunities, and designing our program around that. In addition to looking at the data that shows us all these type of opportunities are growing in our community, but sometimes it's slower than what the data projects. That's what we find.
So you're thinking
it's harder to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys really keep in mind the long-term feasibility of these careers for your graduates.
Right. And I think right now our main focus is stormwater management, green infrastructure, as well as energy efficiency, weatherization, and solar. That could easily change over time. Well, we're keeping a close eye on, is there an opportunity to train individuals to careers in wind? You mentioned coastal restoration. That's another area where we're currently exposing students, but we don't necessarily have a whole lot of partners that are doing coastal restoration projects. And we're open to expanding that, and really we're a program that has the flexibility and the ability to customize training with employer partners to really ensure that students are connecting to those jobs, and that employer partners are finding the workforce to grow in those areas.
Why do you think it's important for individuals and young people especially to get involved with careers that benefit the environment? And how do you think this impacts the city and economy as a whole?
Well, we all live in New Orleans, and we all know that our very survival is dependent on this, right? We know that if we don't do anything, we're not going to be here in 50 to 100 years. So there's that. But we also believe that there's great opportunity, and we know that New Orleans is a city of haves and have-nots and equity, and there's an opportunity to really change that through the growing green economy if we do it in a way that ensures that there's inclusion, that there's access, and that we focus on thinking about those individuals who really have the most to benefit, but ultimately the most to contribute to the growing green economy. And I think the more and more we tie those two things together, the more our city can grow and thrive, and how it's just critical. There are two biggest challenges.
Must be really rewarding to, help people establish careers in something that's, meaningful, something they can be proud of.
Yeah, I think, Green Corps is set up to be part of the larger solution, but it really requires a whole collaborative effort of, employer partners, of government, of training organizations, schools, civic organization. It requires the whole village for it to be successful, and we're just part of that. But it is very rewarding to be part of the bridge and on-ramp to ensuring individuals are having access to emerging green careers. And it drives us. It drives us to constantly improve. It drives us to ensure that what we're offering is really genuinely preparing individuals to be successful after they leave Green Corps. So we're constantly thinking of how can we do better? How can we strengthen what we're currently doing? What else is needed? Things that we're looking towards is expanding our space. So we really have more hands-on training opportunities, and we're looking towards a green jobs training hub for the community. We're also looking towards how do we lengthen the amount of time that students can really be earning and learning. And the training similar to the Green New Deal, similar to the Civilian Climate Corps, that's a huge need for our region. And it's something that Green Corps does, but we want to see it stronger.
Right. What have been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over the course of your career in doing this type of work?
Well, similar to what I was talking about in terms of it's going to take all of us. Ultimately, what I've learned is it's not about programs. It's not about Green Corps or other training organizations. It's about relationships. It's about our relationships with the students. It's about our relationships with our partners. That's what drives change, and that's what it's really about. So we are very intentional with those relationships and partnerships, and I think that's what I've learned more than anything. It's really not about the program that we set forth. It's about forming meaningful relationships with the students, outside networking, exposing and introducing students to people that they might not normally meet. And then for our students, there's a huge level of relationships across the Corps. So each of the students starts this journey together, and they end the journey together, and in between they form these really powerful and beautiful relationships with one another. There's a lot of peer support across the students. They become very close, and those relationships are lasting, and that peer support is also really critical. So that's probably the biggest thing that I come back to is, thinking through how do you continue to create an environment where those relationships can really flourish.
How can people get involved with Louisiana Green Corps if they're interested in signing up?
Well, the easiest is to call us. So just, we're on the internet. You can call 504-613-4661. Text us. That's probably the easiest. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we have information sessions for individuals who either want to join the program or want to learn about the program. Those are at 12 o'clock here at our office. If you have internet, you can go on the internet and learn more about Green Corps, as well as apply and fill out an interest form there. That's the best way. But we're very responsive, and we're easy to find.
Very cool.
As Deion Sanders says, we aren't hard to find, although he says it in his own way. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for talking to me today. It was really great to hear about everything y'all are doing. So
thank you, Marion. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for listening to On Our Watch. We hope you enjoyed our discussion with Ryan Mattingly.
Don't forget to subscribe to On Our Watch on your favorite podcast app to be notified about future episodes. You can find our feature-length documentary On Our Watch, as well as a video version of today's episode, in the links below. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back with another episode next week. This podcast is made possible through support from the Greater New Orleans Foundation and executive produced by Bruno UK Steiner.